How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So I got to see some of Lightyear, and I was really just so impressed. It's just an uh, incredible change or addition to the Toy Story universe, but it's not Toy Story. And I was really impressed with the depth of the characters and the story, but also the look of it. It's got kind of a more realistic feel that goes beyond animation and gives you a sense of realism. So, what were some of your goals when approaching the cinematography?
I think you've really hit it on sense of realism. A lot of it for us is as opposed to Toy Story. This is like there's real stakes. It is a real adventure movie, and it needs to feel like it's human characters. And Angus went to great pains in the realism of those characters, not so much in the photorealism because it's all still very stylized, but in the way those characters move and in the way the animation plays out. There's a lot of complexity in that movement, and you often he does not fall into some of the more some of the more animated styles that are very broad, like characters gesturing and moving their hands around. We don't really have a lot of that. It's more contained, and he's studying actors in more of a live action sense. In terms of shooting all of that, part of it is just let's be true to the world. Let's be true to the characters. The camera work has moments where I would say it's flashy, but it's designed to show off the story. It's designed to keep you in Buzz's head and understand that where his head is at, right? When we land on that planet or crash onto that planet, it feels hostile and Buzz hates it. And let's be with Buzz. How do we see things through Buzz's eyes? And I think a lot of the shooting of it in terms of the lighting and the camera together was certainly the film language was certainly taken from older 80s, 70s sci-fi films. But one of the things that we're really looking at in those movies is the craft and the fact that they sort of have the opposite. They come from things the opposite direction we did. They're building everything by hand in those films using limited resources and whatever they have. We can make anything we want look as good as we want in CG, and everyone here is super talented. Like, you want something to look photoreal, they can give you photoreal. But it just doesn't work on film. It just feels made up. And if you go back to some of those early sci-fi films, whether it's Star Wars or Aliens or Blade Runner or 2001, all of those sets are made of cardboard and chipboard and plaster. Like, it's kind of just there for the day, and then hopefully they don't have to shoot it again. But they're making everything look so beautiful, not just in the techniques they use to construct it, but smoking out the background, using film that already degrades the image because film then didn't have the clarity that film does now, or that CG does now, obviously. So we can learn a lot from those techniques and say, I don't want the audience to feel like they're watching a computer generated movie. I just want them to feel like they're watching a movie. And better yet, I just want them to feel like they're watching Buzz. So let's keep the focus on that and kind of get rid of all the distraction and just really take you through the film. And at the same time, to be honest, like, we're all film geeks on these movies. Like, that's part of why you're at Pixar, is you're just a film nerd. And being able to try out these things that, these ideas or these setups that we love in movies, and have this opportunity to play with that and to push how things look in a different direction is really great. I mean, the fact that we can make this while Turning Red is being made in an entirely different way with an entirely different look, and we're all at the same studio, is pretty great. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that is incredible. And what I like about the Lightyear look is it keeps you firmly planted in like the stakes, and the way it's shot, it feels like you're watching a sci-fi film, not an animated film, which sometimes make the mistake of saying, hey, we can do this, so let's do it. Here you show restraint and you keep it, it's a more cinematic approach to it. And there's some great use of scale you get to see this massive world without, like being in your face, but also like, like you said, how reserved you are with the way you shoot some of the sequences.
We never want to distract. It's so important in an animated film, any animated film, when everything on screen is made up, everything on screen is created, every single thing. The camera is anchoring that world, right? The audiences are so smart about how a camera moves and how film language works, even if they couldn't speak about it. You just know it. You've seen movies your whole life. It's in your brain that as soon as that camera becomes untethered from reality, the audience questions everything else on the screen. And now they're out of the movie. And now it kind of doesn't matter what else you do. Mm-hmm. So we've always tried to keep things very grounded, and that camera should feel like it has weight. It should feel like it is moving through actual space and not just a bunch of code in a computer someplace. So I really appreciate that you felt that.
Well, do you know how I can tell it worked? Because I guarantee everyone's going to be holding their breath and pulling back in their seats in that sequence. I won't, spoil anything. In that early sequence that sets everything into motion, you're just not watching it. It gives me the chills. I was like, you're waiting for it. You're waiting for it.
Oh, that's great. You should see it in IMAX, and you will get that. I cannot wait. 10.
I'm going to bring my daughters to it as well, who would
nice.
Be so psyched. So being part of the Toy Story cinematic universe, did that present some challenges for you?
I didn't really think of it that way, actually, and it's funny, the whole time we're making this movie, I never thought about it being in the Toy Story cinematic universe. I always just thought, like, what a cool, awesome movie. Like, what did Andy see? How awesome was that movie? I knew what that movie was for me, or what those movies were for me. What was his movie? And that's the thing I want to make. So it never felt like it was in the, I don't know how to explain it. It never felt like it was in that universe where I had to adhere to cinematography rules that we had for Toy Story, which are very, very different than anything we have to do with Lightyear. All we really wanted to make sure was that the character was true, that you felt like you were watching Buzz Lightyear. And yeah, I know this Buzz. I've seen the toy version of this Buzz, and that toy version is kind of the distillation of this character. But there's much more depth to the human Buzz, as you would imagine. And does it feel like the same inner core? The rest of it, in terms of how the movie looks and how the movie's shot, was like, no, we're starting over. We can do whatever we want. This is Lightyear, not Toy Story.
Is there anything about your job as the director of photography that people don't understand and that you want them to kind of pay attention to as they watch this film?
I think I'm glad that most people seem to at least have a clue as to what it is in animation, as opposed to what it is in live action. But I think the thing that we tried to get through in those presentations is that making these movies requires a couple hundred people. And each one of those people is bringing something unique to their job and to the film. That I had at the peak of this film, I think 14 layout artists on my team, each one of them responsible for part of a scene or a whole scene in Lightyear. And it's all of us collaborating together as we kind of know, like, well, the film's kind of going to look like this. Great. And now as they're working, it's like sculpture. We're slowly kind of molding the actual look of the film as everyone has their input and has their ideas. So you're not just seeing like some vision I had from a mountain. You're seeing, years of work and collaboration. And I think especially film students don't necessarily get that it's much more democratic working on an animated film, especially here, than it may be in live action, where, I came out of college and the first film I worked on was A Bug's Life. And that scene of Flick on the dandelion riding across the barren canyon was me. And I look at that and I remember doing that work and having people on your team that also get to experience that. Like, I was in college a year ago, and now this moment in Lightyear is something I got to make. Like, I don't know, for me, as I get older, like watching that happen is pretty remarkable. And, stay for the credits, because every single person in that credit roll at the end contributed something unique to the movie.
We do. We always read all the names off. My daughter's like, that's our thing. They try to read as many names as they can. So, well,
And
thank you so
is
much for your
very
time.
appreciated.
We appreciate your work. So thank you so much for your time. I cannot wait to take them to see it and to read the credits. Congratulations on what I've seen so far. It looks fantastic.
Thank you so much. It was really great talking to you.
It's great talking to you. Have a great day.